Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome all to Side Spot. I'm your host as always, Sabir Arlene, and I thank you so much for joining in on this wonderful Sunday morning. Another day above ground, another day, another opportunity to help someone else. So, for the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about sex, love, intimacy, know and O, the difference. And I think last week pretty much wrapped up intimacy. So today will be the last subject matter of love. And before we even get into that, it's been a whole lot going on in the world today, and especially in the area of relationships, and not just the political arena, but just all around the world. Some of the things that you see in the news, it's mind-boggling. And again, this is not stuff you can make up. Like, what's on people's minds? You know, we've had at least 3 Amber Alerts here in Florida. I've watched the news where a parent killed the other parent in front of the child. Then you have this other dude who is a cop killer. They keep referring to him as cop killer. Yes, he allegedly killed a police officer. But there's little to no mention about the fact that he killed his pregnant ex-girlfriend. It just keeps going on and on about the fact that how he killed this police officer. But prior to him allegedly murdering this police officer, he also allegedly murdered his ex, who was pregnant. And you know, these things go on every day. People are in some of the sickest relationships. And you know, it's funny, one of the first papers I wrote when I started my associate's degree program was, why do some women remain in abusive relationships, right? And there were a variety of reasons that prompted me to want to write that paper. The first thing was because I saw my mother in a relationship like that when I was very young. I don't recall everything about it, but it's just a matter of, I do remember the violence that took place in the environment. And she left me. When we were 5, and she pretty much she got up out of there. She left him everything. She said she left him a light bulb, a plate, and a set of silverware. And that's what she left him with. She got out of there. And she was not going to continue to tolerate that. But to tolerate that even for more than a day, you know, it's like, wow. Like today they have, you know, so many other safe houses, shelters, or whatever. But you know, then when my mother was pregnant and she had us, you know, those kind of services weren't necessarily available, but they weren't known about, you know, because there was activism taking place even in the 50s and 60s, because you know, there's nothing new about the domestic violence. So you know, there were women who, you know, took the lead and, you know, brought other women into their homes as a safe haven to get them out of those situations. But a lot of women just didn't know about those things. And I say women, and it's also girls as well. So I don't like using the term female as much, because it can be offensive to some when that term is used. But my mother got up out of there. But I also found that there were many who I knew were like in these knockout, drag down relationships and were staying. It's like that was their thing, man. You know, that was one of those high toxic, high conflict relationships, and I couldn't understand it. So that was one of the very first papers that I used. You know, and it all came down to communication. It really did. You know, it came down to communication. You know, at times when people get to the point where they feel like they're not being heard, and they're expressing themselves and they get at a loss for words, Some people don't deal with that very well. And they feel like the next best thing for them to do is to act. Well, act is a great thing, but like, how about just walking out the door? How about walking away? How about finding words? There are a lot of solutions before you put your hands on anyone, especially when a man puts his hands on a woman. But most importantly, it happens on both sides of the fence, and that's another aspect, and that's a whole nother show I'll deal with in talking about domestic violence, because men don't report it as often as they need to, right? Because men are ridiculed, they're shamed, it's a whole lot that comes along with that, right? But just in watching every day and in the news and out and about, and how people just overall deal with one another, how people talk to one another, it's terrible. And it's no wonder why our children act the same. And some will say, well, not my child. No. Our children are every child in our community. Those are our children. Our children are every child, in the United States. And in some cases, even abroad. These are our children. Because at the end of the day, it might not be your child who is causing any of these difficulties. But your child is in the same classroom. Your child is in the same playground. Your child is in the same swimming pool. Your child is on the same sport team. So they're all our children. All of them. But what it also goes back to is the conditioning that we have as individuals, or the lack thereof. Or the lack thereof. And a lot of times what happens is we don't look at ourselves first. First thing we do is we point out to children, right? So when I was thinking about what areas I was going to cover when I determined the title of the show, these three areas, sex, love, and intimacy, are key. Because when you talk about communication, you're talking about intimacy. And what's happening is a lot of our children do not have intimate relationships with their caretakers. If it's their biological parents who are raising them, and many times that relationship, in many instances, the relationship is strained, right? And there are also good relationships with both parents in the household, but neither of them have time. They don't have time. And because they don't have time, the intimacy does not permeate within their environment. So they're coming and going, kissing the child good morning, good night, yada yada yada, got to go to work, got a business this, got a business on that, got all these things to do, and you don't have time. There is no intimacy being developed, right? And especially for boys. Boys aren't getting hugs and kisses, right? Therefore, they don't extend the same to their own male children. So it's a cycle that has started, that has never ended, and will never end, because you have too many who believe that males need to be conditioned in a particular manner in order to survive the world. And that couldn't be further from the truth. That couldn't be further from the truth. It's quite obvious. It's quite obvious with all the murders that take place in our society today that hand-to-hand combat ain't what it is. I grew up, there was a fair one. We fought, it was a wrap. Whoever got beat, we kept on going. We kept on going. Now, it's not even that. It's not even a fight. So, men are not being raised in terms of a true definition of man, right? Because a man is responsible in his actions. Not just responsible for his actions, but responsible in his actions. Especially when it comes to squirting seed up in every vagina you can, protecting your family members, from harm, by making sure that they live in safe environments. That means that things happen in the community, that you need to make sure that you get together with the other men to remove that element from your community, and so on and so forth. Right? For me, that's my understanding of being a man. Manhood has nothing to do with your penis. Nothing. But because of conditioning, many believe that is their manhood, because that's what we keep hearing. That's your manhood. You know, you got to protect your manhood. So protecting your manhood means I need to go out there and fight somebody. Okay, protect your manhood. That means I got to wear a cup when I'm playing sports, I can protect my manhood. I mean, it's like so many mixed messages that males get that it's very confusing. But these messages also spread into relationships, right? So that's why we have so many high conflict relationships, because of the conditioning. And it doesn't just happen from the male parent, it happens from the woman as well. It happens from the woman as well. And oftentimes we attempt to associate or attribute the aggressive male to the environment that he grows up in when it is absent a male figure. Right? So we tend to want to say that this individual is aggressive as a result of his mother is the one who is raising him. His father is not there, and this is anger playing out. And even the mother will say the same thing. But in so many cases, and I just saw a post the other day that it's sickening. But the other side to that is because neither of the parents can sit down and squash this difficulty between the two of them and be parents. They're still stuck on girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, ex, where they're still stuck on that when that's over. It's done. It's about being parents. But because you can't move past those things, the child is not necessarily in this condition totally as a result of the other parent not being involved. But it's also a matter of both of y'all are fools. You argue with him, he argues with you. I'm just trying to be loved, but neither one of you allow that to happen because you can't resolve your own conflicts and you keep fighting your battles on my back. Therefore, a lot of the anger comes from now, y'all can't communicate. This child doesn't know how to communicate either. This child doesn't know how to communicate either. So the level of communication turns into being aggressive, having no boundaries, and just pretty much saying the first thing that comes to mind because that's the condition that they've grown up in. So I was looking at some lyrics of songs the other day, and well, it's funny because I was listening to a song by Joe, and Joe has a wonderful voice. He's a great lyricist, a wonderful artist. I love his voice, but the song, So I Can Have You Back. Now, just listen to the title. So I Can Have You Back. Which implies I had you, and now I want you to be mine again. Right? Now, the first problem with that is why did you lose her? And if you want her back, why didn't you do everything in the beginning to keep her? So, I just want to go to the hook. Now, I don't want to do all the extra stuff. I hope he makes the biggest mistake, the unforgivable that makes your heart break. I hope you tell him sorry is just not enough, and it goes from good to bad, so I can have you back. Now, it's a whole lot of other stuff in there that he talks about. Oh, and another little stupid line in there. Sorry, Joe. So many memories tells how long it's been, and I accept the blame as to why you're with him. He wouldn't approve of us just being friends. Please, that's all I need. Out of respect, I back away for a while. Promise to keep me in mind. And it goes on with the hook of, I hope he makes the biggest mistake, the unforgivable that makes your heart break. I hope you tell him. I hope you tell him sorry is just not enough. And it goes from good to bad so I can have you back. Now, as much as I think it's a stupid song, I like the song because I like Joe. And it's just one of those songs that you find yourself saying, I hope he makes the biggest mistake. And the unforgivable that makes your heart break. And, I hope you tell him that sorry is just not enough. So it goes from good to bad. Now, hold on. Let's look at this now. So you want this relationship, too, to go bad. Just like the one you came out of with her. So he's with this other person now because of you. You accepted blame for that. It's because of me. It's because of what I did to you that you're with him. So now, I hope he makes the biggest mistake that makes your heart break. So it goes from good to bad. So I can have you back. Who the hell wants back something that broken? Think about it for a minute. You'd have already destroyed this woman's life. You had something good, apparently. You messed it up. You were responsible for her being with someone else. Well, she made the decision on her own, so let's get that part straight first. She made a conscious decision that she wanted to be with someone else, right? Because the two of you failed. So she has that right, but you didn't make her. But you aren't together because she made a decision to get away from you with the knucklehead stuff, all right? So you did the knucklehead stuff. Her heart was already broken. If she loved you, right, and she was with you, you broke her heart. And I talked about in another show the condition of a broken heart and how detrimental to one's life and continued existence a broken heart can be. The healing that has to happen along the way. And we often put a Band-Aid on the bullet wound, right? And move on to another relationship with that pain. And all the pain that we carry from that relationship into the new relationship just transfers over. It doesn't go anywhere. It's unresolved. You take you with you no matter where you go. So here you carry this into the new relationship. You don't have the bleed that you would from the bullet wound, but you got a Band-Aid on it so it just seeps. But in the meantime, not only is it seeping, it's becoming infected. And it's affecting other areas of your life because blood infections, right, spread. And it turns into other conditions. So although she may, or he may, appear to be happy with another person, that's not the case. But here you are, wanting him to mess up. You want dude to mess up, like you did. You want dude to mess up, just like you did. So you can have her back. What the hell makes you think she wants to come back to you after you've done it, and now he's done it? But that's the insanity, right? So here, you want to come back, and you want to make up. You want to make up, right, for what you did. But he repeated the same behavior. Regardless of whether it was he cheated and you just treated her poorly, as far as not taking her out, whining and dining her, doing those things. Regardless, it's the same outcome, right? But if you both did the same thing, that's even worse. But in any case, to break her heart, and then she gets rid of you behind, and then you sit back, idly waiting, like a predator, right, for her relationship with him to go bad. So your behavior, first of all, is predatory because you're sitting back and you're waiting. But the other part to it is he wouldn't accept us being friends. Why would y'all be friends? Why would she be even still involved with you in any capacity? in any capacity. It's no sense of us. Why would we be friends? We're not together anymore. I'm not friends with my exes. I'm cordial. There's no friends. There's no friends. Me and my children's mother are cordial. We're parents. That's the kind of relationship we have. We don't have any reason to be friends. We're friendly towards one another. We're cordial. We're parents. But I don't have any reason whatsoever to be maintaining any kind of relationship with a woman who is not the mother of my children, right? There's no reason for it. What is the reason for it? Which is problematic in itself. And for me, just in looking at that, and listen, y'all probably say, well, how you go this deep with songs? Because we sing them, we hear them, we like them, but it also reflects many of our lives. And we only hear what we want to hear, but if you hear all of the lyrics, if you look at the lyrics, because see, I don't know all the lyrics to all the songs I listen to. There's just a hook I always pick up on more than anything else. But when you listen to the lyrics, he wouldn't approve of us being friends. So why are y'all even talking to one another? If the relationship is over, why are you still talking to one another? Why are you still having any kind of relationship with one another? Why? Why? And that's what I always tell people. You have to look at those kind of things. Done is done. If you're not done, if you're willing to work through those things with that person, then do that. If it's a matter of, listen, we need some time, I need to think about this, I really need to, work through this right now. Okay, so we're not going to have sex, but we're going to work through this. Say those kind of things. But don't turn around and get involved in a relationship with someone else and pull somebody else into this web and have somebody else thinking that, hey babe, have somebody else thinking, right, that your relationship with them is going to blossom and you're going to, it's going to turn into this great wonderful love, and that's really not the case. There's no need to have friendships. Once we're done, we're done. All having a friendship is doing is cock blocking on both sides of the fence. I'm going to put it just the way it is. You blocking her, he blocking you. That's all it is. Right? And it's no good at all for the intended. It's no good. But what it says is that you're not done. You are not done. And I'll see some say, well, we never had a friendship, therefore we're working on our friendship. No, you don't work on anything. You work on a friendship while you're together. If you see that that's the deficit, that's what you work on. If that's what's important to you, that's what you work on. If that's not important, to the other person, then trying to work on it by yourself is certainly not going to work. But that's what you have to put on the table. This is what we need to work on, the friendship. And if you wanted to just be friends, we shouldn't have never slept together. We shouldn't have never slept together. And that's why I said in the previous show that it's important to be very direct and upfront about why we are seeing one another. Why are we seeing one another? If you want to have a sexual relationship, put that out there. Put that out there. That's what it. And it's easier for men to say it to a woman than it is for a woman to say it to a man. Again, because of the value that the woman has of herself. She's not going to put herself out there like, I'm not going to be out sounding like no little hoe. Listen, dude, I just want you to hit it every now and then and I'm good. That just doesn't sound right coming from a woman. And it's no judgment in my statement. It's simply saying that that's not something that you're going to typically hear from a woman. But men are quick to say, yo, I just want to hit it. Listen, I'm good. I just, like, boo, can I? That's all. But what happens is along the way, it becomes that. Right? So there's something, it's implied as such. Right? Because if she doesn't complain, y'all get together every now and then and there's no complaint. The assumption is that she's okay with it. But like anything else, you know, when something is good, not just the sex, it can be great conversation. You become acclimated to the goodness of the situation, and then that's when it all blows up in your face. Because it's not what you wanted, but that's what happened. And now, excuse me, now that it's happened, like, what do you do with it? Now the other person was on board just for the fun of it. You got your feelings about it. Now you want to hang in there. You want it to turn into something else. Now, you know, it turns into something totally out of character now, because now there's arguments, and the other person doesn't know what the arguments are all about, because you just said that you was cool with this, well, in your actions. So now it's a matter of you're not cool with this, and then you change. Now you're mad at that person because they was cool with it, because that's not what they want, because they like the single life. They like the life that they live in, and they don't want, oh, you're nice, you're a good person, but I'm not, you know. And then it gets ugly. It gets ugly. So listening to those lyrics is just like, okay, so I'm confused. Like, Joe, what's on your mind? Did you think it's okay to break my heart? And then you think it's okay to still stay in my mind by calling me? By running up on me at the job, in different little places? You know, trying to keep that connect? Why? If you love a person that much, why don't you do everything you're supposed to keep them? That's the idea here. And this is where the problem comes in. Because when you start talking about love, right, it is such an ambiguous statement, right? So listen, let me go to another song. So now, Joe also wrote another song which preceded If I Could Have You Back, If I Was Your Man. Now, here he gave a definition of himself. Let me read the lyrics. And again, I'm going to go, girl, I'm so tired of things, I just want to settle down. I swear to you I've changed. Baby, why you bugging out? I know that I put you through hell. You deserve to be with someone else. But I got to be straight up. Straight up. Girl, I just want to kiss and make up. We done been through a lot of things. How do you throw that away? You were the heart of me. Can't believe you let it break. Tell me why you won't let him go. You can say what you want, but I know. Baby, no more lies. I'm going to keep you real this time. Then it goes into help me understand the hook. Help me understand what I'm saying ain't getting through. Why I can't be your man when I give up the world for you. Girl, I'll do the best I can. Love you forever. That's what I do. If I was your man. Get rid of everything that I know was hurting you, which he should have did along the way. My heart, so many strings, gave that up for you too. Don't want nothing else in the way. I just want to make sure that you stay. Baby, no more lies. I'm going to do it right this time. And it goes on and on and on and on. Now, this is the same dude, right, who is okay with somebody breaking your heart, right? He broke it already, right? Now, he's waiting for somebody else to break it. And here, he had already told you the things he would do if he was your man, right? And he's messing that up. Now he's telling you later on down the line, you know, if I can have you back. So I don't think Joe is clear himself on what kind of man he is. But most importantly, I don't think Joe is clear what it takes to have a successful relationship. Morning, sis. So when you start listening to words of songs, and when you start listening and looking at your life and asking yourself, what are you accepting? What are you accepting? Right? Because you just can't continue to accept anything. But part of the problem is that we communicate so many different things when we're involved with someone that nobody really knows what's going on, and everybody just keeps moving on. And it keeps changing along the way. It keeps changing along the way. And relationships continue to change along the way because of our own confusion, not the confusion of the other person. See, we start off saying we want love. We start off saying we want all these great, wonderful things from this person. But we don't get those great, wonderful things from the beginning. We settle for immediacy. We allow the id to drive the force, right? Which the id does what? It seeks to satisfy itself immediately, and that's the bottom line. So when you're feeling somebody, right? Morality, right? The superego, right? Goes out the door. Now, once you push morality out the door, right, then you leave it up to the id and the ego, right? Now, the ego knows it's in a fight for its life. And the ego will continue to battle back and forth with the id and keeps calling upon the superego for help, but the superego has not been developed. The ego has been developed to some degree, whereas it can withstand a few rounds with the id. But the id is powerful because the id wants what it wants. You know, think about it. Think about a situation where you want what you want, right? And you get it. You bypass everything. You drop everything. You forget everything, all in the name of getting that satisfaction. Well, that's what the id is. If you can conceptualize that, that's what the id does all day, every day, for the rest of your life. The id never changes. So again, I remind you, people continue to use the term egotistical, but it's not egotistical. An egotist is the one who gets what they attempts to get what they want in spite of who they hurt. That's the id. Look it up, folks. Look it up. So it's idistical, not egotistical. The ego manages, to the best of its ability, the id, because it's a part of the id. It's a part of the id. It's that part of the id that says, hold up, excuse me, you getting ready to hurt somebody, you getting ready to hurt yourself, don't do that. Let's find another way to get that done. The id doesn't care how I get it done. The id's going to get it done. The superego, again, when underdeveloped, has no sense of morality. Therefore, it can make no contribution to this fight. And at some point, the ego just becomes exhausted and let the id go. So, when you look at the lyrics that I talked about with Joe, if I can have you back, and if I was your man, right? Joe is not sure about a lot of things because it's always if. Right? It's always if. And Joe often talks about throughout those lyrics how he know he should do this, he know he should do that. So the flip side of that is you allowed it. The woman allowed it. Right? So that's another part that has to be looked at on her part. She has to look at what she's allowing. Right? And why she's allowing. Because it goes back to, you know, I was talking about the first paper I did in school, why do some women remain in abusive relationships? There are a multitude of reasons. And people can make all the judgments they want about it, but at the end of the day, they're the ones who are in it, and they're the ones who, for whatever reason, have not been able to get out of it, again, for a variety of reasons. So it's just like you're in any other relationship. You know, you should have to start looking at the abuse that you allow somebody to put upon you. Because at some point, you are no longer a victim. At some point, you are no longer a victim. See, once it happens, and you continue to allow that to happen, right? You're a volunteer. You can't listen, you can't wish it away, you can't pray it away, right? You can only move it away. Well, you can pray it away, but you have to be listening for the answer. See, prayer is just communicating your concerns to God. But meditation, right, allows you to hear and to see the answer. Meditation doesn't always mean, you know, sitting and holding your hands in a certain way, anything like that. But you can meditate, you can focus and listen while moving. Just putting yourself in alignment, right? But you have to be listening. right? Because the answer is there for you. But if you continue to tell yourself something otherwise, you're going to continue to get that message, and that's the message you're going to react to. So when Joe talked about in the lyrics of how he did this, he did that, I took you through hell. He said it himself. He identified it himself as being, I took you through hell. Now this is If I Was Your Man. The lyrics from If I Was Your Man. I know I took you through hell. So if you know you took me through hell, why did you take me through hell? You haven't dealt with that. You haven't dealt with that, and that's what has to happen. See, if you know you took me through hell, the question is, why did you take me through hell? Why did you take that hell out on me that you have been living with? Where is your resolve with those situations? Because to come to the conclusion, yeah, I should have did this, yeah, no, I know I ain't do that. But the question is, why? Why did you think it was okay to take a woman through that? Why? And the same thing holds for women. Why did you take him through that? Why did you think it was okay to put that upon him? Where was he deserving of that? So going back to the lyrics, the same thing. Why did you think it was okay to do that to her? It wasn't okay. But somewhere along the line, you made it okay. You made it okay. And then you turned around and blamed her. Well, if you did something about it before, maybe I wouldn't kept on doing it. But you ain't never say nothing about it then. Why are you talking about it now? That's the arrogance. That's the id. Because when you love a person, I mean, when you truly love a person, right? You do whatever you can. And what I do in the name of love for my wife, and what you do in the name of love for your partner, are entirely different. And none of us can judge one another for what it is that we're willing to do. None of us. So now, hold on. Now Bruno Mars. Bruno Mars also has, now Joe's title of Joe's song was If I Was Your Man. Bruno Mars' lyrics are When I Was Your Man. Now let me go to his lyrics, right? Same bed, but it feels just a little bit bigger now. Our song on the radio, but it don't sound the same. When our friends talk about you, all it does is just tear me down. 'Cause my heart breaks a little when I hear your name. Right? It all just sounds like, ooh, too young, too dumb to realize that I should have bought you flowers and held your hand. Should have gave you all my hours when I had the chance. Take you to every party, 'cause all you wanted to do was dance. Now my baby's dancing, but she's dancing with another man. My pride, my ego, my needs, and my selfish ways caused a good strong woman like you to walk out of my life. Now I never get to clean up the mess I made. Oh, and it haunts me every time I close my eyes. And then it goes into the chorus, you know, her dancing with another man. And it ends with, although it hurts, I'll be the first to say that I was wrong. Oh, I know I'm probably much too late to try and apologize for my mistakes. But I just want you to know. I hope he buys you flowers. I hope he holds your hand. Give you all his hours when he has the chance. Take you to every party, because I remember how much you love to dance. Do all the things I should have done when I was your man. Do all the things I should have done when I was your man. Right? Hold on now. Now, again, it's still begging the same question. It's still begging the same exact question. Why do we always find ourselves in the position of if, when if you do those things to the best of your ability in that relationship, you may not be faced with that. And I say you may not be faced with that because nothing is a guarantee. None of us are guaranteed to be there. Let's get that straight. I am not guaranteed. Right? I'm a human being. I am flawed. Therefore, I will make a mistake. How we deal with the mistakes, and I said how we deal with the mistakes is most important. Because we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to be faced with some challenges in that relationship because it's two people. It's not just you. So relationships are filled with challenges because you're not living by yourself. And when you are, think about this for a minute. Think about, could you live with you? I'll let you marinate on that for a minute. And I've talked to a lot of people. A lot of people say, absolutely not. I couldn't live with me. I couldn't. That's what a lot of people say. That's the response that most people say to that question. I could not live with myself. Therefore, what it's saying is that there's an expectation that you have of others to live with you in harmony. But you couldn't live with you in harmony. When you know that you present yourself with a set of challenges to another person, you know these things. You know these things. Right? How do you expect for somebody else to deal with you differently? Right? What's important here to understand is that you have to begin to look at yourself through a different lens. Right? And each time you enter into a different relationship, right, you're entering into a different relationship, but you're the same person. And remember, I talked about trauma. If you watch some of the previous shows, if not, go back to the Daddy's Right Here YouTube educational station and watch some of the videos that I've done on relationships, which most of them are about relationships. But look at trauma, right? Especially look at trauma of parental separation. Because the trauma of parental separation does not just apply to our children and us, having strained relations between, the other parent, which brings about difficulty for the child, but our own separation, right? But you have to look at yourself. You have to look at everything about yourself. I have to look at everything about me and what it is that I bring to the table. Everything. Everything. Right? Because if I've been hurt, right? When I'm faced with hurtful things situations that remind me of my hurt, things that come from you that remind me of my hurt, I do react. We all do. But if you're not looking at those kind of things, if you're not seeing why you're acting in a certain way, right, and you're blaming the other person, you'll never be free from the torment of your trauma. You'll never be free from it. Because you have to understand, trauma has to be managed. It does not get removed. And let me say that one more time so you can be very clear. Trauma can only be managed. It cannot be removed. Everything that happens to you in your life remains with you for life. You just learn how to manage it so you can move on and live a somewhat productive life. Right? Period. In other words, you don't allow the trauma to be a barrier between you and living. Some people, because they have not learned to manage their trauma, are in relationships and their trauma is all over the place. And they don't see it. Because they haven't had to confront it. One of the things that I learned early on through the 12-step process, for those of you who don't know, I have over 20 plus years of personal recovery. When I talk about recovery, I'm talking about every aspect of self. The lifestyle, the thinking, the unmanaged trauma, that I experienced throughout the years of my life. So it's 20 plus years. So I'm a person who has no problem with self-disclosure. I'm a person who has no problem talking about himself. But that's not everybody. That's not everybody. And even though I recognize your freedom in doing those kind of things, everybody doesn't do that. So you have a lot of stuffers, and that's their way of managing their trauma. Right? That's how they manage their trauma. And even though it's a maladaptive way of coping, right, it works for them. And it's not until they enter into a relationship of some capacity with another person that it really begins to present itself. But the person doesn't realize that it's presenting in that relationship, because that's part of their conditioning. That's how they deal with it. And because you deal with it in that capacity, it doesn't make it right. Because either you deal with it, or it will deal with you. Or it will deal with you. So when we're talking about love, you have to understand what love looks like to the other person. I just gave you some lyrics from two male artists, right? Now then I also did a show on what's love got to do with it, right? And I did Stevie Wonder, I think Stevie Wonder's lyrics, and I did obviously Tina Turner, and another artist. But when you look at how love is defined in songs, and how life for most is developed through fantasy, through idealism, not idealism, but idealism, because it's an idea, right? When you look at idealism, it's a prescription that follows. And I always talk about that when I talk about idealism, when I talk about the ideal life, it's what's prescribed by God. It's what's in whatever religious structure your preference is, right? That's prescribed, that's prescription, that's ideal. Right? That's ideal. When I look at idea, right, it's what you think. It's what you have conceptualized in your mind. It's the fantasy. It's what you have determined that's going to be significant for you. But it's like shadow boxing and preparing for a fight with Mike Tyson. Right? If you've never been hit by Mike Tyson, they tell you all the stories about how hard Mike hits. And your only mindset is that, well, I hit as hard as Mike, and I want to try to avoid being hit by Mike, and I want to learn how he does this, and you try to find all of these sparring partners who hit hard or have a similar style, and then you get into the ring with Mike, and Mike hits you. And when the announcer finally gets to you, once you get up, then Mike hit really hard, y'all. He hit hard. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's the same exact thing. A lot of people think that they're conditioned to be in the ring. Because when you talk about entering into a relationship with another person, you are in fact entering into a ring. Because there's a book called Fair Fighting. If you go look it up, it's called Fair Fighting, I believe. That's the title of the book as well. It might not have been the title of the book. The title of the book may be something else, but it's a matter of something in the book that helps you to understand how to, have arguments, disagreements with your partner, but to bring them to resolve, right? And what often happens is, one of the things I read in the book was that the problem is that once an argument starts, once a disagreement starts, people enter into their zones. They go into their zones, right? So anybody who has participated in any kind of contact sport knows that once your emotions get involved, you have lost whatever the competition is. You understand what I'm saying? So in other words, if you are playing basketball, we know playing basketball, the idea is to get into the head of our opponent. Right? We know as women, we saw who was the greatest to do it. The greatest himself, Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali would piss all of his challengers off. I mean, he literally pissed Joe Frazier off. Joe didn't even want to wait to the ring. That's how pissed Joe was. But, Muhammad Ali would get into your head. He would say all kinds of things to you. He would do all kinds of things. He would talk about your mother. He would do all kinds of things. So by the time you got into the ring, you were so emotionally charged that you forgot about your skills. You forgot about the whole premise of boxing, the principles of boxing, the basics of boxing. You just want to get in there and whoop his behind. Same way we're playing basketball, right? We talking the whole time. We talking shit. Go ahead. You ain't got nothing. Right? Bam. Block your shot. Talking to you after we block the shot. Throw you an elbow. And we talking to you the whole time. Now, what we have done, we're not the one who's emotional. It's a psychological game. We throwing elbows. We doing you dirty. We're taking you out of your game. Now you can't play because you're playing based on emotions. Well, it's the same thing in a relationship. When you are at odds with one another about a thing, right? The problem happens regards trauma. Everything from your past, right, is now present in this confrontation. But that's on both sides of the fence, right? Now what happens is the person who is pursuing the situation doesn't see that what they're doing is seeking resolve for their own unresolved, right? That has nothing to do with this relationship. So now they're actually on the attack with the other person. The other person reaches back for their trauma, unbeknownst to them, right? And they're reacting off of their own trauma. They're reacting to you and what you're presenting to them. And then the whole laundry list comes out, right? You start talking about things that happened in 1974, right? Oh, see, well, when we first went out, my mother told me when you done opened the door that it was going to be just like this. This is 1974. This is 2017, woman. It don't matter. You didn't open the door for me last year. When we went to Aunt Mary's house, I was coming out, and you see my family standing there, and you go through the whole, and then all this stuff starts coming out, and you be like, well, what is it really all about? And it really has more to do with the fact that this person has some unresolved about some stuff that took place in a previous relationship, and about how they see things with you and how you're not meeting that standard, the standard based on what you have not disclosed to them, the standard of what you have not discussed with them. Because again, remember, I talked about expectations in the last show when I talked about intimacy. We establish expectations of people unbeknownst to them, and sometimes unbeknownst to us. That's that idea. That's an ideaism in a relationship. And people begin to act off those things like, well, how the hell did I even know that? Well, you should have known. We've been together. What? You never had the discussion with me about that. So what? You supposed to know that. Oh, I'm sorry. I said I was a clinician, not a magician. You understand what I'm saying? So we have expectations of one another, and we go back and forth and back and forth. And the confusion, the whole confusion with love is, it is never accurately defined by either partner, and we still say that we're in it. What are you in? The question becomes, what are you in? And a lot of times we just don't know what we're in. We're in love, but with what? And because it's that person, we automatically say, well, I'm in love with him, or I'm in love with her. We say that automatically. We say it automatically. But are you in love with him or her? What are you in love with? And in most cases, you'll find you're in love with the idea. The idea. And you'll stay stuck there. We're at the hour. I'm going to go warm up my coffee, and I hope that you would do the same. Because remember, you're listening, you're watching, you're enjoying SciSpot. And here on SciSpot, listen, I tell you, bring your coffee, your eggs, your pancakes, you know, bring it all. You ain't got to worry about getting dressed for this. Go on and put your jammies on, put your slippers on, put your feet up, right? And sit down and enjoy the show, because this is SciSpot. This is my spot. Agree or disagree, I can say whatever I want to. Right? Because it's my show. Right? So listen, thank you all for joining in. We're going to go to a quick break. Like I said, I'm going to zap my coffee, right? And I'm going to come back and we're going to finish talking about today's topic. Sex, love, intimacy, know, and the difference. You're enjoying SciSpot? I'll be back in a minute.